welcome to IP Study Video Lectures. Today we will discuss the third chapter of Grade 7 English Grammar, and the name of the topic is articles. Well, articles are those special words which play a big role in the sentences. We have three kinds of articles: article a, article an, and article the. Article a or article an, they are indefinite articles, whereas article the, it is a definite article. Before the end of this lesson, you will be able to recall the concept of articles, determine the position of an article in a sentence, compare definite and indefinite articles. Let us study this small example. I have a room full of paintings. Oh nice, the painting hanging on the wall really caught my eye. Now, as you can observe, both of these sentences have determiners such as a and the. Well, we use article a when we are talking about something indefinite, whereas we use article the when we are talking about something definite. Let us read some more examples. Let's watch a movie this weekend. This man will grow to be an author. The doctor gave me medicines. In the first sentence, a movie, we're talking about a movie which is not definite, which is indefinite. That's why we've used article a. And also, we're talking about a singular noun. The second sentence, we have used article an because author, the word is beginning with a vowel sound. In the third sentence, we have used the article the because we're talking about definite person, a definite profession, doctor. A, an, and the are articles. Articles are used before nouns or anything that acts like a noun. Let us understand what is the position of articles. We put articles before nouns. For example, I am going to the doll museum. Japan is an island. That means articles are dependent on the nouns that we are using in the sentence. If the noun is definite, we use article the. If the noun is indefinite and singular, we use article a or article an. But we use article an only when the noun is beginning with a vowel sound. When a noun has an adjective or an adverb before it, we place the articles before them. Let us read some more examples. He is the brightest boy I have ever seen. He sat on an empty chair. Now here in these two sentences, article the has been used before brightest boy. So here, boy I have ever seen. I is a noun and article the has been used before the adjective brightest. Another example, empty chair. Now here we are talking about a noun chair, but there is an adjective to the chair which is empty, hence you've used the article before the adjective. So if a sentence has only a noun, then you will use the article before the noun. But if a noun has an adverb or an adjective, then you will use the article before the adverb or an adjective. Now, as I told you in the beginning of the chapter, that there are three types of articles: article a, an, and the. We're going to study them in detail now. Now, articles a and an. How to use a and an in the sentence? Firstly, always remember that a and an means one. That means you're going to use them with singular nouns. Let's see some examples. I went to a park. She gave me an apple. Here, article a and an are used just before the nouns, but these nouns are singular nouns. A park, an apple. A boy, a girl. Now let's study article a in detail. First of all, a is used with a singular noun. Secondly, when you are referring to something which is indefinite, that means you're talking about a park, but which park? You're talking about a museum, but which museum? So, when there is an indefinite noun, then you will use the article a, and when there is a singular noun, you will use the article a. For example, a moon, a tiger, a European, a book, a city. That means all of these nouns were singular and they were indefinite. A moon, a tiger, a European. European, you're referring to any European city. A moon, you're referring to full moon, crescent moon, and so on. A tiger means any tiger. But if these nouns are plural, for example, books, European cities, tigers, in those cases, you're not going to use the article a. Alright? Now, article an. Similarly as article a, an is also used with singular noun. But the nouns which have vowel sound, article an is used with those nouns. For example, an aquarium, an exhibition, an orange, an aeroplane, an apple. In all of these cases, we have nouns with vowel sound. That is the reason we are using an. There are some exceptions while using article an. For example, university, European. In those cases, you're not going to use article an. But why? They are starting with letter E. Exactly, because they do not have a vowel sound like European and university. All of these have sound of a consonant Y, but not a vowel sound. Therefore, we use article an with the words starting with a vowel sound. Therefore, if we see a word starting with a vowel, but the sound is like a consonant, we do not use them with article an. But words like apple, aeroplane, exhibition, in all of these nouns, you will use article an. Now, one rule that we all must keep in mind is a, an cannot be used with plural nouns, proper nouns, and uncountable nouns. Examples: we cannot say a girls, a shekhar. A shekhar is a proper noun, but we cannot say a shekhar. A tea, a water, a milk. Why? Because when we are referring to girls, that's a plural noun. So, article a and an will not be used in these cases. When we are talking about shekhar, which is a proper noun, in this case, we are not going to use article a with a proper noun. When there are uncountable nouns, for example, tea. Now, you don't know what is the quantity of tea. A cup of tea, a glass of milk. Here, you know the quantity of the milk. But when you're not aware of the quantity, that means it is an uncountable noun, and in that case, you're not going to use article a. For example, a tea, a sugar, or milk. All of these would be incorrect. Article the can be used when you're referring to plural nouns and when you have definite things. For example, once a king and a queen ruled over a country. The queen gave birth to a baby girl. The queen called the baby girl Snow White. When Snow White was a child, the queen died. The king married again. Now, in this passage, in the first line, once a king and a queen ruled over a country. Now here, we are not talking about a definite king or a definite queen or a definite country. That is why we have used article a. But once we know which king and which queen we are talking about, we started using the article the. For example, the queen gave birth to a baby girl. Here, baby girl is not definite, but the queen whom we are referring is definite. That is why we've used article the. When Snow White was a child, the queen died. The king married again. So, as you observed, when we started the passage, we were not aware which king and which queen are we talking about at which country. That is why we used article a. But once it was definite after the first sentence in the passage, we started using the as an article. Now let's look at some more examples. Father bought a book and a pen from a stationery store. Now here in the first sentence, we are not talking about a definite book and a definite pen or a definite stationery shop. But once the first sentence is finished, the book becomes definite to us. The book was for Ayan. Ayan is a proper noun, therefore no article is required in this sentence. But with the book, once it is definite which book are we talking about, we have started using article the. The book was for Ayan and the pen was for Shreya. Now we have made it definite that the book was for Ayan. That means Ayan was looking for a specific book. Pen. The pen was for Shreya. That means the pen has been definite to Shreya. Hence, wherever there are indefinite things, we use article a, but when there are definite things, we use article the. When there is a singular noun, we use article a or am. When there are plural nouns, we use article the. When there is a vowel sound, we use article an. But with a vowel sound, it should also be a singular noun. Let's look at another example. A strange man was standing in front of a tall building. After some time, the man went into the tall building and disappeared. So, in the first sentence, when it was not definite who we are talking about, we used article a with a strange man, a tall building. The man went into the tall building. Now we know who we are talking about. That is why we've used the article the. We use the when the person or a thing to whom we refer to is quite obvious. For example, did you issue the book from the library? Will you turn off the fan? In these examples, the speaker and the listener know and understand which book, which fan, which place they are talking about. So, the is used before them. Let's look at some more examples for our practice. The museum opens at 9 a.m. That means you're talking about a specific museum which opens at 9 a.m. That is why you're using the article the. The principal scolded them. Now here, the is used with nouns which are unique in nature. Museum, principal, they're unique in nature. You're obviously talking about a specific principal and a specific museum. That is why you're using the article the. We also use the with superlative degrees. For example, gold. Gold is the most precious metal. Now here it is a superlative degree. That means you're comparing gold with other metals and you're making a point that gold is the most precious metal. Hence, with superlative degrees, you can use article the. Which is the tallest building in the world? Here, you are using the with superlative degrees. We also use the before the names of rivers, seas, oceans, valleys, mountain ranges, groups of islands, gulfs, canals, deserts, winds. Few examples are the Ganges, the Indian Ocean, the Indus Valley. Here you're referring to a particular river, to a particular mountain range, to a particular civilization. Then in that scenario, you will use article the. We also use the before singular common nouns, adjectives of quality, to denote the whole class. For example, the whale is the largest mammal. Now you're referring to the whole class of mammals, the whole mammal world, right? And you're referring that whale is the largest mammal. So here you are talking about the whole class, the whole lot. So when you are denoting to the whole lot and you're talking about a particular singular noun from that whole lot, then you can use article the. For example, this is a school for the blind, the deaf and the dumb. That means you're talking about the school, and from that the specific singular nouns that are coming is the blind, the deaf and the dumb. We also use the before the names of directions if there is a preposition before them. For example, in the south of India, there lies the Great Plateau. Doors will open on the left. So here you will use article the when you're talking about the directions. And there is also one condition with that there has to be a preposition as well. For example, in the west, in the east, on the left, on the right, to the left, to the right. So you can use article the with the directions, but there has to be a preposition as well before the article. We also use the before the names of great religious and literary books. For example, the Mahabharata, the Bible, the Quran, the Guru Granth Sahib. Now, these are religious and literary books which we refer in each religion throughout the country. That is why we've used the specific article the. We also use the before the names of hotels, cinemas, theaters, shops, museums, stadiums, airports, banks, when beginning with a proper name. For example, the Taj Palace, the National Museum, the Bank of Baroda. Here you're talking about a specific place, a specific bank. That is why you've used the definite article the. We do not use the before a person's name. For example, Ambedkar Stadium, Aurangzeb Road, Indira Gandhi Airport, etc. because those are proper nouns. So even if a place has a proper noun, then we are not going to use article the there. So this was all about articles for today. In this chapter, you have covered article a, am, and the, how to use them, where to use them, and what will be their positions. In addition to those, we have also learned what are indefinite articles, what are definite articles, and how we can identify them in the sentence. Thank you so much for staying with us. Stay tuned for our next video lecture. Thank you.